Jeff, first up, we're going to talk about Discord, which is a voice, video, and text chatting app that is especially popular with gamers and young people. And we're going to chat about how they are adapting in the face of complaints in terms of them being really poor insofar as protecting kids. This includes a couple of high profile cases that I was reading about recently in two different US states in terms of men luring younger girls. And the list of things goes on and on.
Yeah, in fact, the state of New Jersey is actually suing Discord for failing to protect kids. Uh, the platform, as we may remember, this is the platform that was used by a mass shooter in Buffalo to live stream his rampage on Discord after previously discussing it on Discord in the lead up to the attack. And there are complaints that the company isn't even using the tools it has available to effectively keep younger users safe.
It is really discouraging to see the growing issues on this platform. I was also reading over on BBC that Discord has about 200 million monthly users, so a massive number of people. Now, what's interesting in terms of what they are trying to do to be able to keep people a little bit safer is that they are actually testing face scanning to verify user age. Now, this is interesting because I didn't realize this, and something I just read about, that in the UK, there must be laws in place that are relatively new about online safety in terms of platforms with any adult content. Those platforms by July will need to have some sort of age verification in place. So this is an example of that potentially happening, but who knows how effective that's going to be.
And I think they're testing it both in the UK and Australia. UK has been actually really taking a strong stance lately about, I think, with the new government there and stuff like that. They've really been trying to make these things work better and protect kids and all the things we want to see happen online. And Instagram actually brought in, I think in 2022, brought in some facial recognition thing. That one was geared at when you would change your account from being a kid's account to an adult account at 18. They were using that kind of AI detection. So we'll see if that becomes the norm, because for really obvious reasons, it's important that we be able to manage age restrictions online. They're there for a reason.
I was just speaking at a school, and there was a parent there who said that their daughter was actually essentially kicked off TikTok because the AI verified that she appeared to be too young to be using the platform in the first place. So I think this topic of age verification is absolutely going to be one that we're going to hear a lot more about. And in fact, on last week's show, Ed Elson also brought this up. So it would be great to see some progress in this area, because too many of our kids are at risk. Now, Jeff, we're going to switch gears a little bit. Here is a story that you found that is really an interesting approach to winning the lottery.
Yeah, this is absolutely nuts. So it's based on the fairly intuitive notion that one way to win a lottery would be to just buy every possible combination of numbers. And so this is what a London banker turned bookmaker worked with some associates to do. They purchased lottery terminals so that they could brute force their odds of winning by printing lottery tickets nonstop for 3 days until they were able to produce over 99%, I think it was 99.3% or something like that, of the number combinations for the contest. And it worked. They eventually won $95 million in a Texas lottery by printing off $26 million worth of tickets. So they've got like a $60 million profit just by totally brute forcing their approach to winning the lottery. So if now, if somebody else gets the same number, I think they have to split that. But in any case, what an unusual thing to actually have the power to do these days.
Well, obviously they have a lot of time and money on their hands because the
Yeah.
average person couldn't do something like that. So that is pretty impressive. Definitely wild news. In other news, a federal judge in Virginia has ruled that Google has built an illegal monopoly with its advertising business. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I don't find that too surprising. And it comes after last year's ruling that Google illegally monopolized online search, and 2023 is finding that the Google App Store was an illegal monopoly. I'm going to talk about this on a future the other Mac because it's happening all over the place. We've got Meta in court about it right now, so we'll see what happens with that. But all in all, I'm pretty happy that the states have finally pulled off their blinders about the power that's being accumulated by some of these tech giants over time. So I see it as a good move. Let's let the legal system take its course. But for too long, they were just not making intelligent decisions about this. People who didn't know enough about what they were talking about, back when they let Meta buy Instagram and WhatsApp and all this. So I got to see this as progress.
Yeah, it absolutely does seem like progress. And I think you're right. We're starting to see more and more that some of these big tech companies are being held accountable. I think it's just starting. We have a long way to go. And speaking of some of these tech giants, there have been a number of reports that OpenAI is building a social network that could potentially compete with X. For people who aren't familiar with OpenAI, they are, of course, the makers of ChatGPT. Now, the social network that they potentially could build could be a place where people would actually be able to post ChatGPT generated images that are created by users. So those would be AI images. I don't know, Jeff, at first glance, this seems sort of ridiculous. What do you think?
Yeah, I certainly don't think we need many more social media networks out there. I think this is a way to promote ChatGPT's image making capabilities, which are impressive. ChatGPT also has been doing some interesting stuff lately with reverse image, using images to try to guess where the location the image was taken in, which is really impressive. So there's interesting things going on there. But with this sort of thing where they're potentially looking to recreate a social media network, I think probably the motivation for this is to create a source for real-time user data that they can use to train their AI. And obviously their competitors like Meta and Google and X all have access to a huge amount of data like that. So if I were trying to figure out why would this make any sense, it's promoting the AI images, but then probably more importantly, just getting people to opt in to given their data to OpenAI so that it can train their AI, since they're getting further pushback against that.
This is a big topic out there. I know often when I speak at events, people will ask me, what do you think about some of these big tech companies that are training all of these AI models on content where they didn't have consent necessarily to actually train on that content? And in fact, the godfather of AI, who is a British Canadian, Geoffrey Hinton, who many people probably have heard of, he recently told the Toronto Star that he thinks that big tech companies need to pay more for training data, and basically saying that what is happening right now is having a negative effect on creative industries.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a musician and a composer, I can certainly relate to that directly. I have lots of artist friends who are seeing their work disappear as AI takes over the creative efforts that they used to do themselves. So it's a bit terrifying. And it's kind of stunning to think that the tech giants feel that they should be able to create an AI to replace artists by training that AI on those artists' work and then not compensating those artists. It's mind-boggling that these people who have so much money to put into these efforts refuse to spend it on compensating people whose livelihoods they are taken away through this sort of stuff. So all in all, I see this as just more billionaire tech bro culture combined with a dangerously outsized political influence.
Absolutely. Well, up next in the other Mac, Jeff will discuss a different kind of political influence as Canadians face misinformation and disinformation as we approach this month's federal election.